All right, welcome back to another one. We are continuing to help Mr. JFK Jr. get his identity back. So let's run this content.
The city's overrun. You don't stand a chance.
Stay here. I'll send someone to pick you up.
What are you doing?
Hit that like button on the way in right now. Hit that join button and buy membership. Let's go.
The real JFK Jr. was given a new name after entering the Witness Protection Program. After his father, President John F. Kennedy, was assassinated, David Keith Quigley is now desperately trying to reach out to all of us in an attempt to reclaim his stolen identity. I will refer to him simply as JFK Jr., for this really is the real one. The least that could be done is to return this man's identity to him. In his book, he detailed a childhood so horrific that calling it hell would be a gross understatement. It was a challenge for JFK Jr. to recall his memories, eventually resorting to a tape recorder to record what he remembered, writing resulting in illegible scribbles because of the literal torture he was subjected to since the age of 5 years old. You may be wondering, why would people torture a child like this? The short answer is for control over him. They could not kill him. I'm unsure if JFK Jr. knew at the time, but he was undoubtedly under God's protection. Literally. The only thing the people that entered his life after the assassination of his father could do to him is try to make him as controlled, miserable, and penniless as possible. His mother, Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis, and her husband, Aristotle Onassis, were both murdered in 1975. His sister is also believed to be deceased, murdered, and replaced sometime between the ages of 10 and 12. JFK Jr. cannot recall seeing his real sister after those ages. Eventually, all of his immediate family were killed and replaced with body doubles and clones. As far-fetched as clones sound, they are a very real thing and have been a very real thing for quite some time now.
I'm just going to show you guys the difference between clones and skin masks that are going around because the world is a stage and everything is not what you think it is.
Humans made to order, mothers giving birth to themselves, babies conceived just so their body parts can be transplanted. Come with me into the scary new world of cloning. The nightmarish stuff of science fiction has suddenly become a reality.
The first baby clone is born. She was born yesterday at 11:55 a.m. in the country where she was born. So this will not give you more details about the location. She's fine. We call her Eve.
My first gen was born in Jersey. However, I was cloned by Clonate in Canada. My model number is 0112568. If anyone wants to see the registration or cloning. When I was cloned, they wiped a lot of memory, but when I stole the documents before escaping, I read that the mother was Puerto Rican and I guess the father, the surrogate, you could say, was the sperm donor was a Sicilian.
The government is a murder crime ring whose modus operandi is identity theft, and these murders were committed to steal the fortunes of the Kennedy and Onassis families. To keep the real JFK Jr. from sharing the truth, he was kept in poverty, tortured, and abused. David Keith Quigley was his new name under witness protection. He was given to a new family to take care of him. Demonic entities wearing a human skin was the only conclusion I myself could come up with to justify their behavior towards him. They dyed his hair by making him stand out in the sun with lemon juice in his hair and forced him to take a cocktail of hormone pills every morning. They were involved in organized crime, child trafficking, and kidnapping. Sometimes the kidnapping involved JFK Jr. himself. 2 years later, the 5-year-old endured violent assault from what could only be remembered as a creepy man. He invaded his room while he slept in a 2-story white house-like building that had been converted into the likes of a school. Apparently, it was quote-unquote how they taught them. A prominent figure named Wayne bought JFK Jr. soon after. It was this man that played a role in a portion of his protection and later would whisk him off to all sorts of locations and prominent people throughout his upbringing. The why behind it was unknown outside of him taking an interest in him, once noting that he stood out from everybody else.
Trauma-based mind control. Most victims of the CIA's trauma-based mind control program, MK Ultra, have come from families with a history of child abuse, because multi-generational child abuse makes a child more susceptible to mind control.
The CIA allowed this sociopath to carry out his wildest fantasies. He had a license to destroy minds and to destroy bodies. He himself used LSD by his own estimate something like 200 times, so his imagination was quite fertile. I think that the people at the CIA were captured by the Cold War mentality of that moment, which led them to think that civilization was in imminent danger, something we're now being told again. Therefore, under those conditions, everything is justified, something we're also being told again. And the loss of a few lives, or even a few hundred lives, would seem like something very minor compared to the possible prize out there. Alan Dulles, the CIA director, gave the project this name, MK Ultra, and he truly believed that if you could find the key to mind control, the prize would be nothing less than global mastery.
Wayne also had a nigh magical influence over him, where he would be missing time until he wanted him to pay attention to select goings-on. JFK Jr. was a victim of MK Ultra. Much abuse had been inflicted on him to ensure he was in an altered state much of the time. He has memories of burying bodies and witnessing copious amounts of crime and murder, the latter of which often snapped him out of his altered state. He recalls a lot of accounts of abuse, tied to and hung from telephone poles, thrown into icy cold water to see how long he can hold his breath, beatings, assassination attempts, sexual assault, blasted with body-wide pain in strange, soundproof rooms, and much, much more. While he was dragged all over, living in Masonic communities, and eventually taking part in Black Op missions, which he was generally told to stand there and shut up, he met many interesting people along the way. JFK Jr. met Lady Gaga when she was a child, a young Obama, Denzel Washington, Elvis Presley, and even more than that. A photo was snapped of that, but he has to turn his head away to hide his identity. Another individual he met personally was Donald Trump, the real Donald Trump. JFK Jr. found himself in Atlantic City, brought by Wayne while he was under the influence of an altered state. Despite that, he remembers this trip vividly, likely because Wayne wanted him to and had knowledge on how to manipulate the state JFK Jr. routinely found himself in. Donald Trump was put in place to run casinos with some other mafia tycoons. However, Trump and his partners must have gotten on the family's bad side. The real Donald Trump was killed in a helicopter crash in 1989. It was made to look like an accident. Trump was actually a helicopter pilot and had been flying the helicopter when the rotor blew off, causing him to crash onto the Garden State Parkway. His guide, Wayne, wanted JFK Jr. to see that Trump was dead. When they arrived at this crash, the bodies were being pulled out of the aircraft and onto stretchers. The last body they pulled off was Donald Trump, and Wayne pointed at him and said, "Look." Since Trump was able to fly a helicopter, he would likely never let himself be chauffeured around in one, as is obvious double dose today. While Trump was alive, JFK Jr. was able to meet him face to face. He announced, "I'm the real John Kennedy Jr. No one will even recognize the fact that I exist. I could kill somebody in broad daylight and get away with it." Trump then replied by saying, "Get a fucking lawyer." Later that week, perhaps wanting to mock the real JFK Jr., he announced to a crowd during a rally, "I could stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody and I wouldn't lose voters." He got some very expected backlash from that comment, especially from the media. However, it appeared his desire to mock JFK Jr. was great enough to make the comment despite that. Wayne was responsible for taking JFK Jr. to many places to witness specific events. JFK Jr. believes it was all meant for this time in 2023, since these experiences hold relevance today. He has had experiences with Illuminati families and shares with us that they plan decades ahead, and their plans involve thwarting the awakening of humanity. They attempted to orchestrate a false awakening called simply Q. The Q plan, which brainwashes its followers not to do anything when they see disturbing events unfold. According to the plan, rather than panic when nefarious events appear to unfold, Q followers should rejoice.
The Q posts assured everyone that a Patriot alliance led by President Trump is fighting them behind the scenes, repeating over and over again to enjoy the show and trust the plan. This is now becoming the mainstream narrative. Prominent New Age guru David Wilcock is telling his audience of millions that the Luciferian pedophile Illuminati cult is being taken down by the alliance. He claims there will be 3 days of darkness when TV and internet is taken down by a looping government broadcast telling the world the truth of the Illuminati. During this time, he says that thousands will be arrested worldwide. Is this the truth, or is it something else? The reaction to the coronavirus appears to be a very cunning New World Order takeover. Globalist-run nations are suggesting that only extreme authoritarianism will save millions from dying. Economies worldwide are being destroyed. Civil rights are being stripped away. Many of us who have been speculating for years how this will all go down are seeing it very clearly for what it is. And the masses of people brainwashed by mainstream media are now joined by the masses of Q zealots and New Agers who religiously trust the plan without question. Many people suggest that Q must be good because Q has revealed the evil conspiracy. But the enemy is very cunning and clever, and a lie this big could best be sold with the art of paltering. Paltering is the art of selling a lie by using the truth. A 2017 Harvard study stated that paltering is effective because the use of active, truthful statements is likely to both distort a target's beliefs and be very difficult to detect. The best lie is the one that has the most truth in it. The Q movement has become the new mainstream narrative. Is it the Great Awakening? Or is it the New World Order making its final move?
But as we know now, there was nothing this cabal could do to prevent the awakening from happening. Their future-looking technology, the Looking Glass, told them their goals were unwinnable. There is no stopping what is coming.
Project Looking Glass had to do with time, any effects of time in the craft.
They cannot go beyond a certain point.
At a certain point, after they're done hearing the computer tell them, this is what's going to happen over and over and over and over again, all they become focused on is, how do we fix it? If I had to give it a name, I would say it's the awakening process. It's an evolution of consciousness that cannot, will not, and no matter what decisions or possibilities are injected into the equation, eventually it all resolves down to us all learning the truth and becoming aware of this massive dam of lies that has been built that keep us from knowing massive volume of information that we should otherwise possess.
The crashing of the economy, civic unrest, and the threats of a civil or world war are supposed to be reasons to get excited. It means that their salvation from Donald Trump and the fake JFK Jr. is coming to save the day. However, Donald Trump died and was replaced in 1989, and the body double nicknamed John died in 1999, which the real JFK Jr. witnessed personally. Of course, salvation is here courtesy of God's Son being back and fully activated. JFK Jr. is under his protection and explains why he has been unkillable throughout all of his life. He goes by King John Smarty, and having been following him since 2021, I can personally say he is exactly who he says he is. Many are fooled by his perfect modern-day Jesus disguise, but there are thankfully those with the eyes to see and ears to hear well enough to know who he truly is. JFK Jr. has witnessed personally the death of his body double nicknamed John John and known as JFK Jr. by most today, albeit a fake. He was aboard the plane that crashed. He preemptively put on a life preserver as panic overtook his body double and others in company as the plane was only able to make left turns. Slamming into the ocean was abrupt and instantaneous. Ultimately, only the real JFK Jr. made it out of the ordeal alive, picked up by a passing ship after entering a state of shock following hours of drifting in the ocean. JFK Jr. details all of his family, their body doubles and clones better than I ever could. Much more than this has happened to him, and I encourage you all to buy his book, Stolen Identity, Unveiling the Real John Kennedy Jr.
All right, so this one got crazy. Hit that like button on the way and share this video. Let's bring more awareness to what we got going on. Make sure y'all guys hit that join button and buy your memberships now. Become a top Jedi so we can do this together.